Good morning, 5th grade. Today we're going to continue reading in our novel, Homer P. Fig, and we are at Chapter 7. And so before we get started, we have a quick write that has a quote. It says, "Comes to me that I better tell the truth or they'll make me dig my own grave." And our question is, why does Homer lie to stink and smelt? What does this reveal about him? Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the focus question. It says, why do Stink and Smelt want Homer to lie, and why might this be a problem for Homer? So we are going to focus on Homer's fast evidence to try to figure out why lying might be all of a sudden be a problem for him now. Our vocabulary words today are forge, which is when you take a metal object and you hammer it and you heat it up to make that metal turn into a specific shape. 2 is bounty. That is a monetary gift or reward for something like a prisoner or something like that. And then the Fugitive Slave Law, which was passed in 1850, in which Southern slaveholders could, if a slave was trying to escape and was captured, you had to bring them back to their master. So even if they escaped to the north, people in the north were required to bring them back to their master. So slaves actually had to escape all the way to Canada instead of just to the north after the Fugitive Slave Law was passed. Let's turn the page. And we're going to use our CSBS strategy because we have a fiction text when we are tracking our thinking today. So I'm on page 30 at Chapter 7. It says, I once told Parson Reed of the Piney Swamp Congregational Church that my mother and father were not dead, but away visiting Queen Victoria, and that they would soon be sending for me and Harold. The parson was powerfully impressed that a boy of 5 knew the Queen by name, and even more impressed when I explained that my father had been hired to fell all the trees in England, and that the task would take no more than a week. The parson said he'd not been aware that so few trees remained in the British Empire, and I explained that my father could fell a tree with one swing of his axe, and could therefore lay an entire forest in an hour or so, depending on his mood. And while my father was laying waste to the forest, my mother was busy in the royal palace teaching the Queen how to spell. When Parson Reed said it was a great surprise to learn the Queen could not spell, I explained that until recently kings and queens had no need of spelling or reading, because servants did it for them. And the parson remarked that I had a surprising knowledge of the world for a child of my age, or any age for that matter. The kindly parson may have been amused by my inventions, but my brother was not. He told me our dear mother made him swear he would always be truthful, and that his oath extended to me, even if I had been too young to swear it myself, and that every time I told a lie, an angel fell from heaven. The kindly parson, go to the middle of page 31. For the days after I went around looking for fallen angels, but never encountered one. So I come to believe my big brother must have been mistaken, even if he did believe such a thing. But as strict as he can be about never lying, I'm pretty sure Harold won't mind if I bend the truth to stay alive. Of course, that's before I find out what they want me to lie about. First thing Smelt does is force the prisoner to sit up. There's something pitiful about a man with a sack on his head, knowing he can't see what's going to happen next, and how every little noise made him flinch. The light of dawn has come into the lean-to shelter, and I see the man's hands are swollen black from where he's been tied up. We'll stop right there because we have information about our character and our setting. And on page 31, we learn a little bit about Harold. And we know that he tells us a story about how he lied to a priest. and how Homer did not like it when he lied, but he thinks that in this instance with stink and smell, it might be okay for him to lie because he's trying to stay alive. So in box 1A, we would write, Homer realizes that Harold does not like it when he lies, but he thinks it's okay to lie if it helps you stay alive. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the quote. And we will write down this last sentence in the middle of page 31. But as strict as he can be about never lying, I'm pretty sure Harold won't mind if I bend the truth to stay alive. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the setting. And so in the last paragraph on page 31, we learned that Homer is still in the lean-to with stink and smell, and they have a prisoner who has a sack over his head and has been tied up. And so in box 2A, we will write, Homer is still in the woods with stink, smell, and the prisoner. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the quote. And you can write down this first sentence in the last paragraph of page 31, or you can write down this last sentence. First thing Smelt does is force the prisoner to sit up. Or you could write down, the light of dawn has come into the lean-to shelter, and I can see the man's hands are swollen black from where he's been tied up. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the next page. We're at the bottom of page 31. You hear me in there, Festus? Smelt demands. Count of 3, I'm cutting off this sack, and if you don't want your head cut off too, you better tell us what you know, what we want to know. Out of Smelt's wide leather belt comes a thick-bladed knife with a wicked curve, just right for slicing a hog's throat or a man's. He slips the shining blade under the flour sack and slices it open with one flick of his wrist. The sack falls away, and I'm looking at two white eyes as big as saucers, 2 white eyes, and a face of color of creamed coffee. Festus is our darky friend, ain't you, Festus? The white eyes squint up at Smelt, and I can tell the darky man is fearful, but he's angry too. I ain't Festus, he says, never was. You're Festus if we say so, Stink insists, waving his fist in the man's face. The man gives his head a stubborn shake and glares up at Stink. My name is Samuel Reed, and I am a free man born to a free woman in the state of Rhode Island. Smelt slowly crouches down, holding the big knife. He smiles in a way that makes me feel sick to my stomach. If a snake could smile, it would look just like him. This ain't Rhode Island, he says, and we don't care who you was born to or where you got the crazy notion that a darky can talk the same as a white man. All we care about is this. Tell us where you hid them runaway slaves. They are not slaves, the man insists. They've been set free by President Lincoln. Yeah, and if they ain't slaves no more, why they running away? We'll stop right there because we have discovered part of the problem. I'm going to keep reading until the middle of page 33 to get more information about the problem. Top of page 33. The man refuses to answer. The way he's keeping still and quiet as if he expects to die before the sun gets much higher. Might be he's praying too without saying the words aloud. Best get over with, Stink suggests. Last chance, Smelt says, pointing with his knife. Speak or meet your maker. So we'll stop right there because now we have enough information about the problem. In box 3A, we would write, Stink and Smelt threaten to kill the prisoner because he won't tell them where the runaway slaves are. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the quote. And in the quote, you could write down both of these quotes. Tell us where you hid them runaway slaves on page 32. And last chance, Smelt says, pointing with his knife, speak or meet your maker on page 33. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the solution. We're in the middle of page 33. The darky man gives his head a little shake. You can tell he's scared of the knife and he doesn't want to die, but he won't say where the runaway slaves are hid, even if it kills him. I'm scared of that knife too, but something in me needs to pipe up, and I can't stop my mouth from saying, you might just as well throw your money in a hole in the ground. What? Smell and Stink turned their attention to me. You can't sell this man if he's dead, I point out. Stink looks as if he's fixing to punch me, but Smelt stops him. Hold on, he says. The boy may have a point. We could forge owner papers easy enough and collect the bounty. Bounty? I asked, figuring the more talk, the less call for the knife. $10 bounty for every slave returned to Maryland, Smelt tells me. Emancipation doesn't cover the border states. That's a legal fact. They're talking about Emancipation Proclamation. I heard men arguing about it at the general store where they smoke and chaw in the Saturday afternoon. Top of page 34. Seems like President Lincoln declared the slaves in the Confederacy were free. He didn't dare free the slaves in the Union states like Maryland, Delaware, Kentucky, and feared the border states might join the rebels. The proclamation is more like what they call a promise to the future when the war has been won. Don't count for much now, not if you're a slave. Smell and Stink get to talking and decide they'll leave the darky man alive for now, at least until the boy helps them locate where the runaway slaves are hid. The boy who's going to lie his way onto the Underground Railroad. The boy who's going to make them rich. Must be that being scared makes you stupid, because it takes a while for me to realize that boy is me. And we'll stop right there because we have the solution to the problem about the prisoner dying. And in box 4A, we will write, Homer tells Stink and Smelt that they can't sell the prisoner if they kill him, which changes Stink and Smelt's minds about killing the prisoner. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the quote. And then for the quote, we will write down this quote on page 33. You can't sell this man if he's dead. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the paragraph. It says, what can we infer about Samuel Reed from his actions as well as the other people's description of him? So you'll need to go back on pages mostly 32 and 33 and think about what kind of person Samuel Reed is and what his actions reveal about him.